Imagine, for a moment, a lost world. A civilization that rose alongside the Great Pyramids of Egypt and the mighty ziggurats of Mesopotamia. Yet today, it speaks to us only in whispers. It's an incredible story of achievement, one that ends in a profound and honestly, an unsettling silence.
So let's just start with the question that gets right to the heart of this whole thing. What if one of the ancient world's superpowers, a civilization of millions of people, just disappeared, leaving behind way more questions than answers? All right, let's get into it.
So our story really begins with the rediscovery of a forgotten giant, the Indus Valley Civilization, which you'll also hear called the Harappan Civilization. I mean, for thousands of years, its very existence was just buried, its memory completely lost to time.
And this right here, this really puts it all into perspective. We're not talking about some minor, isolated culture out in the middle of nowhere. No, the Indus Valley was flourishing at the exact same time as its more famous neighbors. They were a contemporary powerhouse, a true pillar of the ancient world.
And when I say powerhouse, I really mean it. Geographically, this thing was immense. It was actually larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, stretching across huge parts of modern-day Pakistan and India. This wasn't just a kingdom, it was an empire of cities. And this is where the story starts to get really strange. We're about to explore the paradox of their society through their most impressive legacy, their cities. Cities that, it turns out, hold a very, very strange secret. I mean, just look at this. The cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were absolute masterpieces of urban planning. We're talking about streets laid out in a precise grid, buildings made from standardized bricks, and get this, sophisticated water and drainage systems that you wouldn't see again for thousands of years. This level of organization just screams of a powerful central authority. But who was in charge?
And this slide just lays out the central puzzle perfectly. You see, in Egypt and Mesopotamia, power was obvious, right? It was displayed through massive palaces, extravagant royal tombs, art showing kings as glorious warriors. But in the Indus Valley, we find none of it. No grand palaces, no kingly burials, no celebration of war. Just these incredibly orderly cities, seemingly for ordinary people.
So you have to ask yourself, how on earth do you run an empire without the usual symbols of power? You know, the one tantalizing clue we have is this famous little statue called the Priest King, a small, serene figure. Was he a ruler? A god? We just don't know. Maybe they were governed by a council of priests or a group of powerful merchants. It really challenges everything we assume about how ancient states are supposed to work.
And the mystery of who was in charge, whether it was a priest, a king, or a council, well, it becomes almost impossible to solve when you realize we can't read a single word they wrote. Their secrets are locked behind a script that has no key. It's the greatest barrier between their world and ours.
Just let that sink in for a second. For all intents and purposes, they are a silent civilization. All of their beliefs, their history, their stories, their laws, every single part of their inner world is completely locked away from us.
And the crazy thing is, we see their writing everywhere. It's on thousands of these tiny seals, on amulets, on pieces of pottery. These intricate symbols are clearly a sophisticated script, but to this day, nobody has cracked the code. It is one of the last great undeciphered languages of the ancient world. Now, you might be thinking the society this unique must have been totally isolated, but that couldn't be further from the truth. They were deeply connected to the world around them, which honestly makes their sudden disappearance all the more shocking. So get this, archaeologists have found Harappan seals as far away as modern-day Iraq in the ancient cities of Mesopotamia. This is clear as day evidence of a vibrant, long-distance trade network. They were exchanging stuff like timber, precious beads, and copper. It shows a really complex economic system that connected these different cradles of civilization. For nearly 1,000 years, this civilization thrived. Everything was working. And then, it just stopped. Around 1900 BCE, their great cities started to empty out. The trade networks dried up. The script vanished. In a remarkably short span of historical time, a great civilization just faded away. So what could cause a collapse that catastrophic? The truth is, we don't know for sure. The leading theories, though, they point towards the environment. Maybe a drastic climate change messed up the vital monsoon rains. Or maybe the mighty Indus River itself actually changed its course, leaving these huge cities high and dry. The old theory of a big, violent invasion, well, that's been largely discarded. So we're left with this chilling puzzle of a society that may have just been undone by nature itself. So, What do we do with a story like this? The story of a civilization that we can see, but we can't hear. Well, I think we can look for the lessons. We can reflect on what their silent existence might just teach us about our own assumptions.
This quote really captures it, doesn't it? The Indus Valley offers a powerful counter-narrative. You know, the history books are filled with stories of kings and conquerors and military might, but here is a story of a different kind of greatness, one built on planning, on trade, and on civic order.
And that brings us to a really provocative thought. Their whole existence seems to ask this question. Is it possible for a great society to flourish based on cooperation and incredible engineering rather than on conflict and dominance? For centuries, their answer seems to have been yes.
And so we're left with this final question. The Indus Valley Civilization is an enigma, a ghost of history. But even in its silence, it challenges us to rethink what it even means to be civilized. And it reminds us that even the greatest societies can be incredibly fragile. What lessons should we be learning from a world that vanished before we forget them all over again?
At Geotectonics, our mission is to uncover these profound tectonic shifts, offering clarity in a world of complexity. If this analysis deepened your understanding, please like this video to support our work, share it with others who seek real insight, and subscribe to Geotectonics to ensure you never miss our next deep dive. We'll continue to explore the crucial geopolitical movements that define our time. Thank you for joining us.